Inside the Deck is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, sellers of Magic the Gathering and many other card and board games. GatheringMagic.com, your #1 resource on Magic the Gathering, strategy, and culture.
My name is Andre Garcia, and the name of my deck is Niv-Mizzet the Firemind. The primary theme is that Niv-Mizzet wants to kill you by being smarter than you. He's able to draw you a lot of cards and deal damage at the same time. The cards are designed to have names that reflect that. Names like Omniscience, Concentrate, Knowledge Exploitation. And all these can do lots of different things that still help serve his purpose. He's in one of my favorite color pairings, which is blue-red, and I really like the idea of a dragon who thinks so highly of himself that he can think people to death. The main strategy is to get Niv-Mizzet out when I'm in a situation to draw a lot of cards and be able to defend him simultaneously. So it's very late game. I have to have a lot of mana out. My secondary strategy is to be able to land Omniscience. Usually once I'm able to cast that, I can cast my entire deck, and it's very difficult for anybody to stop me at that point. The mana base for this deck is pretty simple. It's pretty much all the blue-red lands that I can throw at it, a couple of the Vivids, and then beyond that I have Temple of the False God, Reliquary Tower, because you need to draw a lot of cards, and Desolate Lighthouse, which also facilitates you drawing more cards, and then after that it's just basic lands. The control aspects of my deck are broken down into two basic categories, either counter magic or direct damage. The direct damage is taken care of by spells like Starstorm, which serve two purposes for my deck that it wants, which is either cycling to draw a card or dealing damage to deal with creatures. Comet Storm is also a good spell for this deck because it's modular. It lets me pick off the things that I want to pick off, or sometimes in certain cases, two players at the same time. As far as the counter magic, I have staples like Counterspell and Cryptic Command, which are either easy to cast or do a lot of things for me. I also run Trickbind to be able to stop things like Oblivion Stone or somebody setting my life to 10 with Sorin Markov. Other things that I use for control are staples like Evacuation, the new awesome Cyclonic Rift, which is everything an Izzet player ever wanted, and Chaos Warp for those random times that you really absolutely need to get rid of something and are willing to trade it for some mystery card in their deck. Besides that, the deck also has a slight theme of stealing things from other players. I run Desertion and Spelljack. I also run Knowledge Exploitation and Bribery for either spells or creatures. I don't run Acquire because I found that usually all I end up getting is a 5 mana rock, which usually isn't worth it for me. Besides that, the rest of the deck is built around either drawing me a lot of cards with spells like Blue Sun Zenith, Opportunity, Concentrate, Thoughtflare, or the deck also returns cards from my graveyard to my hand with creatures like Archaeomancer. I'm not running Izzet Chronarch at the moment, simply because he's a bit expensive, but I do want to put him in for flavor reasons. I do run Time Warp and Time Stretch because it's, the way I see it, the equivalent to me playing a bunch of creatures that a green deck would normally do. It's the only way really that I have sometimes to stabilize when I know that I'm about to pass to 3 turns where they're all going to be attacking me. And besides that, the creatures that I run are creatures that net me cards or return cards from my graveyard to my hand. Arcanus the Omnipotent is one of my favorite creatures. He has evasion on himself, so late game it's really hard to kill him. And he lets me draw 3 cards, which is an amazing amount regardless of when you're playing Magic. Mercurial Chemister is like my Arcanus 2.0. Pretty awesome, and sometimes that second ability is pretty relevant. Consecrated Sphinx and Teferi, another pair of creatures that are extremely useful for a blue player. Phyrexian Metamorph for those times that you want to suck in Gilded Lotus. And probably the most underrated MVP of my deck, Whirlpool Warrior from Apocalypse. If Niv-Mizzet is out and I'm able to resolve that creature, I'm going to be put in a situation where I have an insane amount of damage going on the stack. And with some of the other enchantments, I'll be able to do a lot of things for essentially 4 mana. And then the last couple of things that I have are Leyline of Anticipation, Vedalken Orrery, Omniscience, and Mind Moil are probably the backbones of this deck. If I can land any combination of those cards out at any one time, victory is a lot more likely for me. being able to cast some of these sorceries at instant speed makes a very big difference. Being able to cast my general at the end of my opponent's turn is also a great way to secure victory, especially if Teferi's out. Besides the fact that I managed to foil it out, the thing that I like the most about my commander deck is that it lets me play to the philosophies that I like about Magic. Usually I've always been a bigger fan of spells versus creatures. I like creatures that basically are spells, which WotC's giving us plenty of nowadays anyway. And so it lets me do the fun control-y stuff that I learned late in my Magic career versus the just damage and aggro stuff that Red used to let me do when I first started playing. One of the things that makes my Izzet deck unique is the fact that I tried to have more fun cards versus non-fun cards in there. There is a bit of control, but there aren't actually that many counterspells. I believe there's only about 6 or 7 of them. Some of them are conditional. It is designed to do very big, splashy things, sometimes being able to win off of Inner Fire comboed with Comet Storm will catch people by surprise, especially if you can play them as instants with Leyline of Anticipation or Vedalken Orrery. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of overlap with other blue decks and Izzet decks, but it's definitely geared to be more fun